Hello internet, hello and welcome to this video. This is another episode of Baumi and philosophy, is what I like to call these. If you're new to the channel, sometimes something gets stuck in my head. And it seems like the only way for me to get it out of my head and to stop thinking about it all the time is to create a video and just get that video out there. I don't know why it helps, but it does. So welcome to Baumi and philosophy. So all of this started while I was listening to a PK. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was a PK, a recent one. And they were basically asking the question, if you could go back in time and remove one day and all the events that happened on that day from history, erase that day, which day would it be? Now for me, that is kind of an obvious choice, isn't it? It would have to be the day my father died. He wasn't sick or anything, so if only I could erase that one day when he chose to go into a burning house to save some people, and then he was the only one that didn't get out of there alive. If I could erase that day, he would still be alive, right? But as I continued on thinking about this question, I came to the conclusion that if I erased that day, if my father would, as a result, be still alive, I wouldn't be me. I would sacrifice me, my current me, in exchange for my father. The problem with this whole thing is simply that him dying, as ironic as it is, was probably the best for my family. It probably was the best for me, my sister, and my mother. Because we suddenly had a lot more money, a lot more possibilities on our hand that really helped us out of a slump, that really helped us out of a very shitty situation, and it kind of was for the best at the time, as shitty as it sounds. It really was. Because of that, if he hadn't died, that wouldn't have happened. And then we continue on the butterfly effect, and as a result, everything would have changed. The entire story of me would be different. My life would be different. And the person that is currently sitting here, that is currently talking to you, wouldn't exist. And so I came to the conclusion that I, in fact, do not want to erase that day. I simply can't imagine what my world would be without that day. So erasing it is just not an option. But I wanted to continue on with the question anyways, just for the fun of it, and find a day that I want to erase. Now, this led to me asking the question, how far can I actually go back without deleting me? I don't know, I still don't have an answer to that. It's probably around like 1.5 to 2 years, something along these lines. Day 9 once posed a very interesting question. Are you the same you were 5 years ago? Because in my scenario, I'm not. If I think back 5 years ago, that is not the same person I am today. Not at all. Entirely different. A world of difference. If you put the two of us together in a room, no, we wouldn't even get along. That would be awful. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. Vsauce once said something interesting that I think kind of overlaps with this, even though it probably is not related to it at all. Every single molecule inside of your body is a different molecule than it was 5 years ago. The you today, on a molecule basis, is entirely different than the you 5 years ago. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that just crazy? This again, funnily enough, kind of overlaps with a different story. A story of a man called Phineas Gage. Now, Phineas Gage is, in my opinion, one of the most interesting cases in history ever. It's fascinating. You need to read up on this. But the guy was working on a construction site and, sad enough, happened to be part of an accident. Now, that accident involved him getting a giant iron rod pierced through his skull and just straight through it. Everybody thought he was going to die. Doctors already warned his family that there's no way he's going to survive this. He did. He did survive it. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that since the iron rod went through his brain, it of course destroyed part of it. And now the Phineas Gage we saw afterwards was not the same Phineas Gage at all. They were two entirely different people. He still had the same memories, yes indeed he had, but he had a completely different character. So, if we just change a little bit of something in our brain, we are suddenly not us anymore, are we? Interesting, isn't it? But what if we replace our entire brain? Are we still us? I don't know. All of this may not correlate at all and may not matter, like whatever, I don't know. It's just something that was stuck in my brain. And honestly, it's just, like, it just poses some questions, okay? And I guess those questions are, who the fuck am I? And when will I stop being me?